episode number 13 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania in the United States, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all sorts of other crafty endeavors and crafty bits. We have a gorgeous day weather-wise out here. It's a little bit on the cool side. It's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit of a wind, but there's only a few little fluffy clouds in the sky, and it's a gorgeous morning. Correction, it's a gorgeous afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. I've lost the morning already. Anyway, you might have noticed I've got my hair cut this morning. So I don't know how much better it looks, but it's not quite as long and scraggly as it was before. So this is a podcast not about weather and hair, but anyway, truck went past with a little empty trailer on it, and it's going boingy, 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 boingy over all the bumps out there. Anyway, I might have to do some editing right from the get-go on this, but we'll see. We'll decide on that later. So anyway, this is primarily a knitting podcast, knitting and fiber related podcast. I will talk mostly about knitting, although I will spend a little bit of time touching on and talking about crocheting as well. I have a project I think I'm going to cast on in the near future. Correction, not cast on. I'll get started with a crochet project soon. I'll talk about that a little bit later on today. I occasionally will talk about some of my other crafty endeavors, whether it's dyeing yarn, whether it's fiber related, once I finally get to trying that out. But it'll be primarily about knitting. I'd say the vast majority will be knitting. I have several other playlists on my YouTube channel that go into more detail about other areas that I'm interested in. I have one I have one playlist that are all my Vlogmas posts, which is something I've been participating in. I have posted each day so far in the month of December, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that. More of a vlogging style experience. I have a playlist for all sorts of other crafty things that I've bought, whether it's related to paper crafting, junk journals, card making, sewing and fabric, you name it. I have an interest in so many different crafting things. So there is a playlist for that. So if there are other topics that you're interested in that might extend beyond the knitting realm, pop on over and check out some of my playlists and see if there's something in there that you might be interested in. I have started up another one that I'm going to I think I'm calling it Karen Makes. And I will spend time with that doing different little vlogs and different little video clips of me trying to make different things that are new to me. So for example, I recently bought a die cut machine and I tried it out for the first time, just cutting some dies and using some embossing folders. I'm hoping to try sewing some knitting bags soon. So what I plan on doing is I will videotape that process the first time I try making one. And that's what I'm planning on doing with that. I plan on doing a lot of trying different things and documenting that. But anyway, we're here for the knitting today, aren't we? I think so. So I want to say finally, if you are a new viewer who's recently stumbled on my channel, welcome. I'm really happy to see you here. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back week after week to see what I'm rambling on about and what I've been knitting and what kind of progress I've made on some of my projects over the weeks. And that was an awkward little, what do I say next? All of my social media information is listed down in the in the description box below my Ravelry information, my information about my Ravelry pattern store and what I've designed. There's also information on my Instagram page, my Facebook page, and all of my other social media contact places. So feel free to check out where else you can find me online. And I invite you to pull up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, whether it's coffee, tea, something else warm, cold beverage, whatever makes your heart happy. Grab your knitting or your crafting, your crocheting, whatever you happen to be working on, and just sit back and spend a little bit of time with me and see what I've been up to in the past week. I have one smallish purchase I'm going to tell you about, and a few other things. So for starters, what am I drinking today? If you have been following my Vlogmas posts, you know that I have a tea advent calendar. You also know, if you've followed a few of my podcasts, you know that I'm a major tea drinker. I drink a lot of different caffeinated teas, but also a lot of herbal teas as well. So I bought myself an advent tea calendar for this year, and I've been having a lot of fun opening up and sampling these different teas each day. So the one I have today for day number 7. So today, when I'm filming this, is December 7th. This is, let's see if I can show you the proper side. Hope you can see that. If not, it is an organic herbal tea with cinnamon, chicory, licorice, peppermint, ginger, and orange. I haven't tasted it yet, but it smells nice. Oh, and here's my seasonal coffee mug, tea mug, whatever you want to call it. I just thought those reindeer or whatever they are were so cute. That's nice. Not a very strong flavor at all. It's little, you can taste the little bit of the cinnamon, you can taste, and a little bit of the peppermint. It's quite good. I like it. It's a very mild flavor, very mild taste. Check out my goofy little earrings, little penguin, Christmas penguins. Get the hair out of the way so you can see them. So I thought they were cute, so I thought I'd bring them out and wear them today. So before I start rambling and getting off onto too many rabbit trails, we're almost 10 minutes in and I've rattled on about all kinds of random stuff. You're probably seeing a little hint of it already. I have myself a finished object to show you today. I cast these on. These are my vanilla Christmas socks, or my vanilla festive socks. They were cast on back towards the end of October. I don't recall the exact date, but maybe the 28th or so of October. And I spent most of my time working on these on Sunday mornings before church started, and on Wednesday evenings during our Bible study meeting at church. And I like working on these there because I want something that I can keep my hands occupied and pay attention to what's going on. But I have something that, again, I'm keeping my hands occupied. So a nice plain vanilla pattern fits the bill perfectly. So last week when I showed you, I was at the point where the markers are. So I didn't have a whole lot to go left on them. So you can see my progress that I made on Sunday and Wednesday this past week. And I did spend a little bit of time on them yesterday. I was partway through the toe decreases on them, so I finished that up yesterday, and we have a finished object. It's been a while since I've showed you a finished object. So to tell you just a little bit about these guys, this is yarn that I dyed myself in a Christmas type colorway. I used Knit Pick Stroll Fingering Bear yarn and dyed it I just used food coloring for it. little shot of vinegar in the water and some food coloring, and I did it with little blips of red, green, and red across the hank of yarn. So that was how it was put together, or how it was dyed. Was put together, how the yarn was put together, Karen. There we go. This is how that was the way I dyed the yarn. I knit these 2 at a time, magic loop. What I did was I cast on and started and finished one cuff. Then I went and I did the second cuff, cast that on, knit that, and then I joined both of the cuffs together in the round on magic loop and did them 2 at a time the rest of the way, so that I made sure that I was going the same length on the leg, the heel flap, turn, all the way down the foot, that I was doing the exact same thing, and each one was exactly the same beyond the cuff. I knit the cuff and counted, I think, either 15 or 20 rows using a basic 2x2 ribbing. So I used just a very basic, straightforward vanilla sock recipe. I didn't follow a specific pattern. I cast on 64, did, I think, 15, might have been 20, but I think it was 15 rows of a 2x2 knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. Then I knit down until I was ready for the heel, and I did just a basic heel flap and heel turn with the gusset. I just used the basic slip stitch. I didn't use the eye of partridge. I just used a basic slip stitch pattern on the heel flap, and then just continued down the foot. And then when I got to the toe, I just did a basic wedge toe where I decreased on each edge every second row until I got down to a total of 32 stitches, and then I decreased every row until I was down to a total of 16 stitches. And Kitchenered the thing closed, and there we have it. So these, I initially started them as part of the festive sock along. Sorry, there's a fire engine going past without the sirens on. So just a noisy vehicle, but no sirens this time. Anyway, I started these up as part of the festive sock along that Amy Florence was hosting over on her Ravelry group and on her podcast, or on the Stranded podcast. I really liked the idea she had of setting herself a goal of knitting 24 or 25 pair of socks, so that she has a different pair of festive socks to wear each of the days through December leading up until Christmas Day. So I thought that was a really fun challenge. There's no way I'm going to have 25 pair of socks by Christmas, or to wear each day, because I can't knit a pair of socks every day. But over the next few years, I'm hoping that I can finish off this challenge and have enough socks so that I can have a different pair of festive socks to wear each day leading up until Christmas. I think that's really a fun idea. So I did not get these finished and cast off on time to meet the deadline she had set for the 1st of December for the knit along, but that's fine. I finished them a few days later, and I have the first pair of deliberately made festive socks for what will become my festive box of socks, or basket of socks. I have a few other pair that are sitting around in my finished sock pile that I think would qualify as being festive socks. They're either reds or greens, or things that I think are suitable. So I think what I might do is I might call those out and add them into my festive sock basket, so that I can get to the 25 pair sooner. But we'll see. I haven't done that yet. I think I've talked about doing that a few times in the podcast, and I just haven't got around to doing it yet. So honestly, I eventually will do that. So those are my finished object I can report this week. So I'm happy to be able to say that. And I only have one. Basically, the only projects I worked on this week were my Christmas socks and my Advent scarf for 2018. So the Advent scarf is a design by Trisha Weatherston, and she is the, I want to say instigator. She's the one behind the Sock Madness competition that runs each spring over on Ravelry. And what she does is she has, for several years in a row now, she has created a a scarf pattern or a cowl pattern for anyone who's interested to knit along with during the Advent season. So I've been working on this. This one she started it out a little bit early. The first clue came out in the very beginning of November, and that was just for the initial ribbing section. And then the clues have been coming out each morning. They began on November 24th. So we've had a couple weeks worth of clues have come out already, and we still have a couple more weeks of clues left to go. And the whole idea is set up and designed so that we take a few minutes or a little bit of time every day to just do some knitting, have some quiet time to ourselves, and have a little bit of, I don't want to say forced time, but a little bit of time where we're quiet. We work on some knitting. We work on a focused knitting project. We have ourselves a beverage, whether it's a cup of tea, cup of coffee, hot chocolate, whatever we want, and just spend that little bit of time every day just doing some knitting and have some quiet time in this kind of crazy busy time of the year. So I have not done the knitting for the clue that came out this morning. It's already after 1:00 on Friday, the 7th of December. I have not yet knit on the clue that we were given today. But if you are somebody who is working on this and you're behind and you want to keep this a surprise, I'll post a little clip down here when it's safe to look back. If you don't care whether you see what the pattern looks like now, if you're not worried about spoiling the surprise, you can keep watching, not a problem. But here's what I have now. So the orange marker is where I left off last week when I podcast, so last Saturday. So this is the clue from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I've been putting markers down at the end of the clue each day. So this is what I have knit this past week. So I'm not even sure how well this is showing up. It's all scrunchy and bunchy. It hasn't been blocked. I'll block it once the entire thing is finished. But that's this past week's clue. From the orange marker and down is what I had done before last week. I've taken all these markers out already, but this is what we've had up until now. So like I mentioned, I have not had a chance to do today's clue yet. I will probably not get a chance to get that done until later on this evening or maybe tonight. Okay, if you've been looking away, it's safe to look back now. I forgot what I was going to say. So far, working on this, I have stayed caught up for the most part all the way through this so far. I've only been maybe a day behind a couple times, and I was able to catch up within the on the next day. So that's worked out okay. That I'm happy that I've been able to continue to stay on pace with making this. So that makes me happy. And it's a really nice little pattern. It's using a lot of stitches coming from, I don't know which one, but one of the Japanese stitch dictionaries. So the different pieces are coming from that. So it's been really neat. It's like a little kind of like a little sampler knit. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying trying some of these new stitches. Might not be a huge fan of all of them, but it has been a really enjoyable knit. So that's the main. Oh, and let me just tell you a little bit about the yarn. It is Knit Pick Stroll Bear Sport Weight yarn that I dyed myself. I've just started using the second skein of yarn yesterday. Yesterday or day before? Very recently. So we're getting close to probably about halfway finished with the scarf. So I'm not going to have a problem with being short on yarn. So that's good. But I've only just started the second skein of yarn just in the last couple days. So, and I'm using my interchangeable needles, and I think I'm using, let me double check this, if I wrote it down. I'm using the 4mm or US 6 needles for this. So, and they're my Knitter's Pride interchangeable needles. So that's what I'm using for that. I have also, so basically this past week, almost the only stuff I've worked on are my Advent scarf, my vanilla socks, and I've also been working a little bit on a design that is actually going to be coming out in a publication in the fairly near future. So I have a deadline where I need to have the sample done within a little over a week. So I'm probably over halfway done now. So I will be able to get it done on time. So there might be a little bit less progress to report next week. It'll probably only be my Advent scarf and the design I'm working on. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the design and the publication a little bit later down the road. So the other thing I was playing around with this morning, because I have no self-control, what can I say? It's fun. I have, in the last few weeks, or actually the last week, I did an Advent calendar swap with a friend of mine over in England, and we swapped little leftover balls of sock yarn or fingering weight yarn that we each had. So I sent her a calendar with 24 little balls of leftover yarns that I had. They were each 10-gram they were each 10-gram balls of yarn, and a full skein of yarn that I dyed myself for her to open up on the 25th of December, and she in turn sent me the same type of thing. So if you've been watching my Vlogmas posts, you'll see the different little yarn samples she sent me in the past week. I will be opening those, the Advent calendar pieces, I'll be opening those up for the rest of the month leading up until Christmas Day. But now that I have, well, now there's 7 little balls of yarn sitting on the table beside my computer. I need to start adding those into my I need to start adding those into my mitered square sock scrap gan. But I also have a whole pile of leftover sock yarns. And I've put most of them, or quite a few of them, into my sock scrap can and our sock yarn scrap can. And I still have a bunch of leftover fingering weight yarn scraps. So I've been admiring the granny stripe blanket that I've seen several people making in the past. I know this is a project that was really popular a while back, and I'm quite often quite often I'm a day late and a dollar short to some of these little trendy things. So I'm probably like 2 years behind. I've never said I've never tried to argue that I'm trendy at anything ever. I've never have been. But I've been admiring all of these granny stripe blankets that I've seen people pull out and show off every once in a while. A lot of the podcasters that I follow have made or are making, slowly making a granny stripe blanket. So I finally thought, I keep admiring it. So I have all this extra sock yarn scraps. I'm itching to. I was going to say cast on. I'm really itching to start a granny stripe blanket. I'm not 100% sure what size I'll make it. I really don't think I will make it this size for a bed. I'm thinking I want to do a lap blanket or something a little bit bigger or a little bit larger than a lap blanket. So it's just something I can snuggle under when I'm watching TV, or I can have with me in my craft room when I'm doing some knitting or doing some crafting and I'm watching podcasts or things like that. It's just something that I'll have on the side to kind of bundle up with. So I don't want a huge blanket. So since I had leftover yarn from my vanilla socks, my vanilla Christmas socks, I forgot to weigh this. It's probably in about the 30 gram, 25, 30 gram size. And so since I had that just sitting there as a little ball looking at me this morning, I thought, why don't I just try a little swatch and see what I think of it. So what I did was I took the little leftover ball of yarn and I just tried doing 3 little rows on this. I just cast on and cast on. I started out by chaining 20 and have done the single crochet foundation row, and then I've done 3 rows of the little granny pieces in the double crochet. And I used a 4 millimeter crochet hook. There is no equivalent size using US sizes. It's one of those weird, I think I showed that to you upside down. There are no equivalent sizes for US sizes for a 4.5 millimeter hook. It's somewhere between a G and an H. This hook is from a set that I bought years ago. I'm talking probably the late 1980s, maybe early 90s. I've had this set forever. It's tailor form. It came in a set in like a hard plastic package, and it had sizes from really small to really big. And there's some technical terms for you, everyone. It came in multiple sizes. I think I'm missing a few of the hooks now. Over the years, that's probably not a huge surprise. But this is the shape of a crochet hook that I started with and one that I like. I prefer the one that's rounded on the head and not not the one that's got that sharp edge that to me just feels really weird. And it also has a very even, I don't know if it's a shaft, is that what you call it? But the way I hold my hook, I kind of, I rotate it and spin it between my fingers while I'm crocheting. So I've tried using some of the other ones that have that bigger thumb rest, and those drive me nuts because I can't easily spin it when I'm doing the stitching. So anyway, there's my kind of rant on that. So when I look at this, my little swatch, 20 stitches gives me about 4.5. 20 stitches chain start gives me a little piece that's about 4.5 inches across. Unblocked, I wouldn't bother blocking this once it's done. It's 4.5 inches. So I'm thinking that if I were to start with a chain of 200, that would give me a little blanket, roughly 45 inches wide, which I think might be just a nice size. I still have to mull this over. I'm not quite ready to jump on board and begin the project, although it is listed on my Ravelry page already as a work in progress. But I probably won't get started on it quite right away. Although, who knows, you might see it started and me showing it off next week on the podcast next. Time will tell. But anyways, I'm going to try to hold back and try to restrain myself just a little bit so that I don't add another work in progress to my list right away. So what else did I want to talk about? I saw a post on eBay recently for someone who had 2 issues of Pom Pom Quarterly that they were selling, and there were 2 issues that I don't have, so I put in a bid on them, and luckily I was the only one that placed a bid, so I won the auction. So I have 2 new issues of Pom Pom Quarterly. They are summer 2018 and winter 2017. So those are my newest acquisitions. So not yarn, but they are two new magazines that I've added to my collection. I'm going to have to make up a list of all of the Pom Pom magazines that have been published, period, and make a list of which ones I have and which ones I don't have, because I really would like to get a full and complete collection of magazines of Pom Pom Quarterly. So I think that'd be really fun to have the full collection. But chances are it might be a little trickier to get some of the older ones, but we shall see. So anyways, I don't think I have a whole lot of other things to talk about. Life has been really busy, which is why doing the Advent scarf is such a good idea this time of year, because it does make me sit down and spend some quiet time with my knitting. Again, I usually work on it for a while in the morning. I make myself a cup of tea, whether it's just my regular tea or whether it's one of my Advent teas. And I spend some time working on the knitting. It takes me a little while to get it done. There's 15 rows that we do per day. And I think they're roughly 56 stitches per row. I don't remember right off the top of my head how many, but I think it's about 56 stitches per row. So I don't get it done up super quickly, but I do enjoy having that little bit of time. It is a really busy time of year for me, for everyone, not just for me. Work has been going really well. This week mark the last week of classes at the university, and this week coming up, but today is the last day of classes at the university for the fall semester. All the students are writing their final exams next week, so I'm going to have a bunch of grading to finish up once we get into next week. One group of my students write their final exam on Wednesday. I'm hoping to have any backlog of grading done before Wednesday so that I can just grade their final exams and submit their final grades as quickly as I can. My online class they have a deadline of next Thursday to finish doing their final exam and get that finished. So the sooner everyone is finished with their exam, the sooner I can submit their final grades. Though I suspect there'll probably be a few that are going to wait until Thursday evening to finish off. So I still have to prepare the final exam for the Wednesday bunch. I've got it mostly done, but I need to fine tune it and make sure everything's okay. I want to make sure I have it all printed up and done in plenty of time. We've had a busy week and busy time coming up with all kinds of different Christmas social things going on. We have a little Christmas concert to go to tonight, a Christmas tree lighting thing tonight in the town where my husband pastors a church. Tomorrow night is the Christmas party for our church. We're having Christmas dinner, Christmas supper for the congregation. Tomorrow night on Saturday evening. And Saturday morning, I need to take my car in for its annual inspection to make sure it's still safe to be on the road. It's still safe to be on the road. It's just something we have to do. So we have all kinds of things coming up and a lot of busy time coming up. So what else? I think that was about all I wanted to rattle on about today. So I hope you're having a wonderful leading up to the festive season, whatever type of celebration you partake in over the holiday season. I just hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll be back next week to give you an update on whether or not I started the granny stripe blanket, whether or not I added some squares to my mitered square blanket, and whether I've managed to keep up with my Advent scarf or not. Check back in a week and see how I did with those. I would love it if you enjoyed this video. If you would like the video, subscribe to the video, or subscribe to my, you can subscribe to the video. I think you have to subscribe to my channel. So it'd be great if you would subscribe to my channel, if you would hit the little bell, notification bell. I don't know, I think it might be in that corner. If you would hit the notification bell to find out when I publish new videos. I am going to be continuing to post every day for Vlogmas. Those tend to be in the 5 to 10 minute range, although yesterday was a little bit longer. So if you want to see what I'm up to in a typical day, feel free to give those a check out. And if you're only interested in the knitting content, just stick with the Karen Knits playlist on my podcast or on my channel. And I think that's about it. I should sign off and go and find some lunch. It's 1:45. Lunch might be a good idea soon. Anyway, take care everyone, and I'll see you guys in a week. Catch you later. Bye.